Netflix just bought the streaming rights to Spider-Man? Hey everybody, I'm Andy Signore. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. And yeah, this is breaking news I wanted to go through with all of you. It looks like Sony Pictures has just made a massive deal to replace their prior Stars deal to give Netflix it seems 5-year license on their theatrical and previously existing films. This is a massive news story because Sony is the one sort of lone story out there that doesn't have a streaming home. So they're able to play free agent. And in fact, they sold Greyhound, that Tom Hanks film early this summer, to Apple Plus, I think they call it. Who knows? Does anyone watch Apple Plus? Tell me down below. But Sony's the one holdout studio that sort of can jockey these types of deals. So Netflix clearly probably paid a premium to finally have some IP titles that they could have exclusively on their platform since they've lost Marvel, Pixar, a lot of stuff. Well, they snuck in and they're like, well, there is some Marvel we could in theory still have. So it looks like Spider-Man, Jumanji, Bad Boys, a lot of the stuff that Sony does have access to can now exclusively go on over to Netflix. The theatrical windows, as well as some of their older stuff, as well as being a first look studio that gets the rights to anything that Sony has in the works that they were considering going to a streaming partner. Netflix will now get the first deal to sort of make an offer. So look, it sounds like it's a great deal for both Sony and Netflix. And I want to break down sort of the deal points here and what this actually means to you guys. All right, so Variety sort of sums it up the best. A lot of the trades have been covering the story. It's breaking all over. But let's go through this Variety article together so we can break some of this information down for you. All right, so this was apparently a bidding war, but they now will have exclusive U.S., this only goes for the United States, streaming rights for Sony Pictures theatrical releases in the first pay TV window, starting with the studio's 2022 slate. So starting next year, all the films that they have going to theaters will exclusively come to Netflix first after their theatrical window. They've also set a first look agreement with Sony for all the studio's original movies that are produced for direct to streaming market, like that Greyhound deal I told you about. If that had gone out, they would have gotten the first right to take it, or if they passed, then they could shop it around to other places. Netflix will also license an unspecified number of older titles from Sony's movie vault. That's interesting. How much did they get, and how much did that cost? Now, they had previously Sony's primary TV partner had been Stars, which is now owned by Lionsgate since 2006. The new theatrical output with Netflix, which only covers the U.S., is believed to run about 5 years and is undoubtedly worth hundreds of millions of dollars to the studio over the term. Industry sources said Sony executives are working on another significant theatrical movie licensing pact outside of the Netflix agreement. So they're out there making big moves. So they already had a deal with Sony for all its animated releases, you may have noticed on Netflix, but now next year, all movies from all various banners across the Sony lot, including Columbia Pictures, Sony Picture Classics, Screen Gems, TriStar Pictures, will all stream exclusively on Netflix after their theatrical and home. Oh, interesting. Theatrical and home entertainment releases. That's interesting. That means that it could go to VOD and Blu-ray after theatrical before it goes to Netflix streaming. That's interesting because Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, all of them sort of cut that window out, it seems. I don't know how Disney is going to play with, or even HBO Max, how they're going to play with. Are they going to eliminate Blu-ray? DVD sort of sales are not as high, but it's still a revenue stream. But this VOD, where you can get sort of a bump before it goes to the streaming licensing deal, Sony's doing the right thing. There are all those windows to make a film money. Theatrical is a huge way to make some money. And then you got that home market, which is DVD, physical media, as well as digital downloads where people want to buy it on iTunes or whatever. And then you got the streaming licensing where it's like syndication is now streaming deals. Syndication used to be a huge boom for the studios because Shawshank Redemption could stream on TBS over and over and over again and get paid, the studio gets paid every time that, and the actors would get paid every time that film plays. So the Netflix model of the streaming model has now changed the game to sort of, well, where does the revenue come from? So anyway, this deal promises to bring Netflix, Spider-Man, Venom, Jumanji, among others. The pay one window usually begins about 9 months after a film's theatrical release, although that timetable may have sped up for Netflix. It's unclear what the deal points are. We'll know, obviously, as things start getting released. Over the course of the pandemic, Sony has sold multiple slate titles to Netflix, including Kevin Hart's Fatherhood and the animated films The Mitchells vs. the Machines and Wish Dragon. They're a great partner. We're thrilled to expand our relationship through this forward-thinking agreement, said Netflix about working with Sony. This not only allows us promise to bring their impressive slate of beloved film franchises and new IP to Netflix in the U.S., but it also establishes a new source of first-run films for Netflix movie lovers worldwide, which, let's be honest, Netflix needs desperately. Sources familiar with the deal said the pack will amount to to a record-setting price tag for a pay-one window agreement. The deal is said to be structured in a relatively traditional form, with the fee that Netflix pays for each title determined on a sliding scale by each title's domestic or worldwide box office haul. Interesting. So it's a sliding agreement that they've made, and the box office, which hopefully by next year is back to normal, will determine what each rate is worth. So that way, if a film bombs, they're not paying a normally large number for it. Pay one deals have been extremely lucrative and vital source of revenue for legacy film studios, but they're an endangered species for Hollywood, since obviously Warner Media, Disney are setting up their own streaming services instead of sending these out to exclusive providers. Netflix said its first big league pay one movie deal with a Hollywood studio in December 2012, when it shocked the industry by unveiling Disney Pack that kicked with the studio's 2016 slate. You guys might forgot that Disney movies were exclusively over on Netflix, and I think in hindsight, I bet you Disney is very upset about that. While they made some money, I'm sure, it ultimately kicked Netflix into such high gear that they became such a competitor that there was a point where it felt like Disney was just going to buy Netflix, but it never happened. And now obviously they're not competing with it with Disney Plus. But that deal was estimated $300 million over an unusually short 3-year term, which indicated a certain caution on Disney's part. The hedge was present because Disney wound up negotiating an early end of the agreement in 2017 after the studio announced plans to launch the streamer that would become Disney Plus, which is now a growing phenomenon and competitor to Netflix. In a sign of the current sensitivities around the theatrical windowing in Hollywood studios, Sony's announcement made a point of noting that the direct-to-streaming movies produced for Netflix and other streamers will be additive to Sony's full theatrical slate, which will continue at its current volume. The new arrangement helps answer a lingering question about whether Sony Pictures Entertainment fits into the transformed marketplace. The studio has vowed to focus only on supplying content to others rather than wading into the streaming platform wars. The crowded VOD markets, obviously Amazon, Disney, we all know, Hulu, Apple, Paramount, yada, yada, yada. Netflix has been a terrific partner as we continue to expand our relationship. And so as Sony Pictures, we produce some of the biggest blockbusters and most creative original films in the industry. This exciting agreement further demonstrates the importance that our content to our distributor partners as they grow their audiences and deliver very best entertainment. Netflix at present has about 74 million subscribers in the US, 204 total worldwide. So look, let's break this down. What does this mean? It means Sony now can stay in business because they now have a partner who's basically going to cover their budgets. They now have a lot of production money that they can sort of use to then continue to make their films. And then that theatrical money they make is now profit to sort of help create more stuff. So this deal is a huge deal for Sony. They need it because they don't have any other types of revenue aside from, obviously, I'm talking from VOD, a platform where they can grow a Netflix of their own. So this is helpful because they still get to own the theatrical market, which they need to do, as well as now have a ancillary market here where Netflix is just paying them to become their streaming home. It's why I keep wondering, is it better off for Disney to keep selling their library to high dollar amount partners, or to have their own? When you have a library as vast as Disney, which, let's be honest, is better than Sony's, especially now that they have 20th Century Fox. I'm talking the full library if you put it all out there, not just the kid stuff. It's way more valuable than Sony's, hands down. Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, Disney classics alone. What Sony platform, Spider-Man, but they don't even really own that. They're licensing Spider-Man from Marvel. So Sony needs this more than any other studio, no doubt. And to be honest, Netflix needs this. So I think this is a smart move. This gives Netflix sort of where do Sony movies go? We know where all the other studios are going. Well, they're going to Netflix. Now, what happens to Lionsgate? Lionsgate's clearly the one who owns Stars, and that's sort of that pact. They just lost Knives Out, which Netflix just stole. Netflix is clearly sort of trying to destroy Lionsgate's digital outputs. That said, Lionsgate's platforms, John Wick, it's not a huge a lot of stuff they have left, but they do have some, Hunger Games. There's some stuff in there that's valuable. But this is interesting. It's not a huge game changer because it's only for probably 5 years, but it means, yes, Spider-Man will now be exclusively over on Netflix. Instead of watching Spider-Man Far From Home, No Way Home, Homecoming, because of the stupidness names, on Disney Plus, you're going to have to watch them over on Netflix, which It's a good move on Netflix's part. Those movies alone. Plus, what if they decide to do a series or something exclusively? Maybe they partner with that. Will that piss off Disney in future negotiations? It very well could. So that's why this is a big deal. What do you guys think? Do you think Sony has enough? Jumanji, Bad Boys, sort of listing out some of the IP that Sony has. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is going to be a big one that comes out there. Venom, Morbius, Jumanji. These are big titles. Are they big enough? That'll be the interesting information we deduce as this happens. Morbius, Uncharted, Where the Crawdads Sing, Bullet Train, which is I think could be a big movie, as well as Spider-Verse, Venom, all that stuff, Morbius. That's where this will start paying off. Now, there's clearly a lot more films that we don't know about that will start parlaying over to the Netflix through this deal. But I'm curious, what do you guys think? Tell me down below in the comments, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell for all alerts for more industry news like this. Smash that like button and leave your thoughts to help the algorithm there. Curious your thoughts on this. Stay tuned. We got lots more coverage today, as well as we'll be live tonight since it's Thursday for Popcorn Planet Live. So join us at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching, everybody.